Zaxby's Sensation Salad is so much more than a plain old salad. It's a salad, which begs the question, at what point does a salad stop being a salad and become a salad? Is it when you add Zaxby's fried chicken to it? Crunchy wontons? Asian slaw? Citrus vinaigrette? Teriyaki glaze? Sweet and spicy sauce? Or is it when you top it all with a handmade perfectly fried egg roll? Without a doubt, the egg roll. The Sensation Salad, only at Zaxby's.
Real Life, Real Crime is a true crime podcast brought to you by Woody Overton and executive producer Toby Tomplay in conjunction with iHeartRadio and Cloud 10 Media.
You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You have the right to an attorney prior to and during any questioning. You can't afford one, the court will appoint one for you. You understand your rights?
Your crime spree was over, son. Yeah, you thought you had it licked, but Detective Overton made you should have turned to shit. Get ready, you're gonna do time. Real life, real crime.
Warning. This episode of Real Life, Real Crime, the podcast, may contain descriptions of acts of violence or that are of a sexual nature and should be for people that are 18 years or older. Heed my warning, people. I did not get the facts of these cases off of the internet or from some television show. The facts I'm retelling you were presented to me by the victims of the crimes or the perpetrators who committed the crimes against the victims. My description of the crime scenes are what I saw with my own two eyes. If you're gonna get offended, please turn this podcast off now. Thank you. All suspects are innocent until proven guilty. We're telling a story here, but all suspects are innocent until proven guilty. Hello, everybody. Welcome to this episode of Real Life, Real Crime, the podcast. As always, I'm your host, Woody Overton. Y'all, we're going to be continuing the story or the series now, I guess you'll call it Justice for Mary. And we ended abruptly last time, kind of abruptly. The emotions are very high, especially after I described the photograph that I was looking at of Mary's injuries when the family had been told there were no injuries or assured that she hadn't been beaten. And the photographs were just horrible. So we're still on location recording. Any audio discrepancies or whatever, just bear with us, all right? But this story needs to be told. So y'all, we're going back to what we're talking about, what's been done in the investigation. Let's go back to, what do you think? He went in and gave his statement that first morning initially. When do you think was the next time they tried to interview him and what happened?
His brother-in-law told him to get an attorney. And so he never has given another statement because he doesn't remember what he said the first time.
He did go back in.
He did go back in?
Okay, so tell me about it.
So it took a while because he actually left and went to Kentucky and I think Illinois. And they kept outreaching to him to come back in.
They being law enforcement?
Yes.
Okay.
The detectives, at least that's what they were telling us. And he directed them to go through his attorney. So he had originally had one attorney, and then did away with that one or whatever, hired another attorney. So it was probably
That's what we're told anyway.
about 2 months before they got him back in,
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
at least 2-3 months.
Yeah.
That they did re-talk to him with his attorney.
Okay. And we don't know anything about that. I mean, you could.
Not,
We were told, I was told, that the stories did not match.
yeah, you're
Okay.
right.
All right.
They didn't match to
Bouquet
us.
said that.
Yeah.
Because
Well,
I saw Peanut, once they did release my sister's body to be buried, we were gonna get together as a family just to kind of support each other. And, because I came through by the graveyard and I was gonna stop to see the graves. And he was there. And he told me that a little bit different story than what he told my other sisters. He told me that he went to bed at 2 that night, and Mary was working on a box of clothes. He pushed it to her. And he got up around 6:30 and went straight to my nephew's trailer. And that he didn't even have coffee. And I kind of laughed and I said, "You didn't even have coffee first?" And he went, "No, I was trying to hurry up and get to the hardware store so I could get the paint that we needed for the job." And I said, "Oh." And he said, when I got back, I looked in the trailer and I couldn't find Mary. And he said, I walked around the coffee table and she was laid between the two, the sofas and a chair. And he said her body was cold. And I couldn't turn her over because her hands were stiff.
it's okay, sweetie.
And he said that then he told me that he knows that people think he done it. And he didn't care what anybody thought, that he didn't do it. And I said, "Well, Peanut, I know you didn't do it." I said, "You would never hurt Mary." And he said, "I would kill the person that would hurt her." And I said, I know. And he said, "I was trying to help her last night to get the fingernail polish off of her fingers. And I went and got some MEK out of my truck. And he said it's in a little medicine cup. But she had it sitting on the couch and it fell and it splashed up in her face. So I hurried up and took her to the bathroom and tried to wash it off of her face and everything." I'm sorry.
It's okay.
And he said that if the cops came to arrest him, because he didn't know what he had told them when he talked to them, that he was going to make them kill him. He was going to make the cops shoot him.
Okay.
I smelled alcohol on him, and he told me that him and Mary had a good night that night, that they had had sex and everything. And he said, "You know, I was having an affair." And I said, "No, I didn't." And I didn't. And he said, "Yeah." And That's why me and Mary's leaving to go on these trips, because that way we can try to get our marriage back together. And I said, I'm so glad, you know. He did tell me that Tyler was the one who called 911 and stuff. I'm sorry, I'm trying to look at my notes.
It's okay.
And I just say,
Hey, Miss Sheets, it's okay. That the it just shows your love for your sister. Okay, it's okay.
It's more than just that. It's devastation. You know, when you're around somebody your whole life who defended and took and protected you also, and to know that, or to feel in your heart that he took the one thing that meant more than anything in the world to you. It's beyond pain.
No, I understand, and I'm sorry. Okay, it's a.
Like I said, he talked to me. I didn't really talk to him and go on, because I shut myself up. And if I hadn't saw him at the graveyard, I probably would have never spoke with him.
Right.
Because they all kind of protected me and kept me out of the loop, which is a good thing.
Right, that's okay. And then they were protecting you too in their own way, right? Okay. So y'all, you have some the children.
I was going to say, kind of circling back to what you had asked. You said, what did the detectives tell us?
Yes. So let's. It's important. Let's go back. It's important for the storytelling. Let's go back chronologically, and I'll shut up. Y'all tell me what happened. The first time y'all went in, you're leaving. They assure you she wasn't beaten, right? From that point on, to the best of your recollection, and whatever you want to say, tell me what the timeline is of and what happened during the investigation, including when you found out that it was murder and what was said about that, etc. This is really an important part. Do you have something else you want to say first? Okay.
Well, I mean, when we went in the very first time, less than a week after she was murdered, they knew she had been killed.
But
They did not tell us, the detectives did not tell us how, but they knew. Bouquet said he didn't see anything, but he had a gut feeling. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
That was the first initial.
The very first time y'all went in.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
And so we were saying, it's under investigation. If she died of, let's just say, COPD, it's not going to be under investigation.
Right.
So we knew. You're telling us it's under investigation. So something's happened. They asked us about their life, about the younger years from the time they got married, when they were young till she was murdered. They asked us all of that.
Kind of the same thing I asked you today. Right?
Yeah, except we were there for, I don't even know.
4 or 5 hours?
Yeah, 4 or 5 hours.
And they interviewed y'all separately. Right.
Separately, yeah.
And then we've gone in multiple times since, and at sometimes it was 4 hours, sometimes 2 hours.
Okay, on those times you went in, that they called you back in, or y'all went in, or both?
No, we always called them. I called them every
Friday.
was every Friday. Every Friday I would call for an update.
And what would you get?
I was told that they knew it was him. I was told that they were going to rule out everyone else, that this is how it's done. They would rule out everyone else, and he would be the last man standing.
they shared that he was still having the affair with the same person, that they had been following where the travel trailer had been moved because the travel trailer was being moved, even out of state. They made reference to others that had came in and had given a statement.
State referencing
Referencing that there had been others who had come into the detective's office saying that he had told them, the person that he was having an affair with, he had told that person that he would kill Mary and he would kill. So this kind of went on for a while. These types of updates was given. He referenced that it was a matter of time that they were waiting on the final autopsy to come in, and that they were ruling out everything else, and he would be the last man standing. I had questioned them on had they done DNA from underneath her fingernails, multiple times going in. They kind of more or less would allude that there were certain things that they couldn't give us.
Right. They were aware of the whole MEK thing?
Yes, they were. Right. They were aware of the MEK. They were aware of everything.
Okay.
When I say everything, we took them for every step, more or less, kind of how we have shared with you through it. Even they asked us about her drinking. Mm-hmm. That was like a hot question, saying, was she a heavy drinker? And I was like, no, my sister was not a heavy drinker. She drank, and so they wanted to know, like, what was her liquor of choice? And I said, well, it just really kind of depends. We took a sister's trip every year. Mm-hmm. And as many of us that could go went. Right. Every time I, myself, Laura, and Mary was always there. Yeah. And so, I mean, yes, we would have drinks.
Hey, ladies, are you feeling overwhelmed by hormonal changes? Well, you're definitely not alone. There are more than 1,000 hormone disruptors living in our environment right now. It's in your food, your water, the air you breathe, the clothes you wear, your skincare products. They all mess with your hormones. Then there's the natural hormone changes your body goes through, premenopause, menopause. And while it's a natural process, it doesn't mean you have to suffer through it. The good news is you don't have to suffer through it anymore, because now you have Hormone Harmony, a formula made only with herbal ingredients that are shown to reduce hormonal symptoms in women of all ages. Hormone Harmony is not just a hormone support and supplement. It's become a phenomenon. Women can't stop talking about it on social media. A bottle of Hormone Harmony is sold every 24 seconds. And the biggest benefit? Well, my wife says it makes her feel like her own self again. And that's what women mention over and over in the reviews. And there are over 30,000 reviews for Hormone Harmony. And for a limited time, you can get 15% off your entire first order at happymammoth.com. Just use code RLRC at checkout. That's happymammoth.com and use code RLRC for 15% off today. That's happymammoth.com and use code RLRC. Hey y'all, let me tell you about Gobble. All Gobble meal kits are pre-prepped. That means less work for you and less waste in your kitchen. Their meal kits include everything you need so you can save time at the store or just skip that trip entirely. I got the box in, and I had 3 different meals. I had a Kung Pao chicken, crispy fish tacos, and a beef bourguignon, however you say it. But let me tell you about the classic beef bourguignon. Look, it came with beef pot roast and a beef broth concentrate, red wine demi-glaze, cremini mushrooms, cipollone onions, mashed potatoes, baby carrots, and rosemary thyme butter. It was so easy to make. Literally like 15 minutes it took Cindy. And let me tell you something. And all the dishes were fire, but this thing was like a taste explosion in my mouth. It's just unreal. We got to spend more time together and more time doing the things we love because everything came in this one single box right to my door. So see what a difference God will make for your household. Right now, they're offering my listeners a fantastic limited time deal. You get $120 off across 4 boxes plus free shipping and free cookies. And let me tell you, those cookies, I ate one that was sin baked and it was delicious. Go to gobble.com/real life. That's GOBBLE.com/real life for $120 off your first 4 boxes. This offer is not available on the home site, so don't miss out. This is genius. It's taste explosions in your mouth like you never had.
I'm trying to think of the rum shada, and we put like a dash of Fireball kind of in it, you know, typical drinks. They shared that they had picked up a Fireball bottle from that night. Peanut had been referencing how she had been drinking that night, and she had like threw up, and that wasn't my sister. I've been with my sister on every year. We're in our 50s, okay?
Right.
So every year we go on a sister trip, and we have drinks. We go out to the beach. We go out to eat and things like that and have drinks, but we don't get throwing up. And he kept making reference that she actually put her finger down her throat to make her throw up, and I'm thinking, this just wasn't something that my sister would have done without calling one of us. I'm just being serious. Mm-hmm. If she was sick or something like that, she'd have called one of us. She'd have messaged one of us and saying something. I mean, it was stuff that we shared. None of it made sense, but that seemed to be where the detectives were really focusing on that day. And so I said, yeah, she used to drink Crown Royal. She kind of got to where she didn't drink really that anymore. That we would have like a rum chata with a dash of Fireball in it. I will say at that time, due to my medical background, I was outreaching to find out everything that I could from a medical background approach, because it wasn't making sense to me. And I knew that he had went back to drinking, and I felt from the detectives that they were trying to say like she was like drunk or something, and that, just like, and that just wasn't her, and she had some respiratory issue.
Let me interrupt you. But they also have already told you they know he did it. They were going to exclude everybody else. So let me tell you something. It doesn't matter if she was drunk or not. It doesn't give somebody a right to kill you. Okay?
Right.
But so they're telling you this about the drinking. My thing on collecting the Fireball bottle is, if you don't mark it as a crime scene, why would you take evidence? And there's no way you're going to work a crime scene in 2-hour time that it took your sisters to get there and all that. But that's okay. That's just me thinking out loud. When y'all are saying all this stuff, I got a million cop things screaming in my head. So the detectives have told you they know this during the times of y'all going in, and they know he did it. It's going to be a process of elimination. He'll be the last man standing. And y'all listeners, they're all shaking their head. an affirmative. And then what happens? What happens when if I'm missing something, y'all jump in, but what happens when the autopsy report comes back and it says she was strangled to death?
Well, first of all, Bouquet told me, Detective Bouquet, told me that if and when he was arrested, he would call me for me to be there. He told me that multiple times. He also told me at one point, kind of early on, and I don't know if it's because I was the one that was communicating, but that when all this was said and done, he wanted to sit down with me and tell me what really happened. Mm-hmm. And then it would be up to me to share with my siblings what I wanted them to know. And I was like, what are you talking about? Because we don't, keep secrets. But, I mean, the four of us have been going through it, and we kept the oldest one out of it to kind of keep her sheltered some, So that kind of blew my mind, and I'd love to ask that question. What exactly do you know that, because all I could think of is if this goes to court, it's all should come out, right? I mean, it should all come out. So I still didn't understand. Now looking back, I feel like, did you already know this wasn't going to go anywhere or what? I don't know. So Peanut repeatedly told me that they were trying to pin something on him. And this started literally probably the fourth day after she was murdered. That they kept calling him, the detectives kept calling him, wanting him to come in and talk with them. They had more questions for him, but he wasn't going to go. He got an attorney, I want to say the third day after she was murdered, third or fourth day after she was murdered. And he was very upset that they were trying to pin something on him. And I kept saying, I don't understand what you're talking about, pinning something on you. If nothing happened to her, there's nothing to pin. Well, my brother-in-law told me, they'll do whatever they want to do if, and I'm like, well, it's not making sense. Yeah. And so this went on for 3 months.
And him continuously saying they're trying to pin something.
Yes. And I even told him, I said, go in and talk with them. I don't understand why you're not trying to help. I said, are you telling me someone hurt her? And he said, no, nobody hurt her. I'm telling you, nobody hurt her. And I said, then do you hear yourself? Because what you're saying isn't making any sense to me. Because if you keep saying they're pinning something on you, that means something actually happened and you feel like they're going to blame you for it.
And this is before you knew her neck was broken.
Correct. Right. Before she was strangled.
Strangled, yes. Right.
And so, and he kept saying, no, nothing happened to her. And I said, Peanut, toward the end of the 3 months that I spoke with him, I got very upset with him and I said, tell me, did someone hurt her? And he said, I'm telling you, no one hurt her. And he said, nobody hurt her. Why would anybody hurt her? I said, I don't know. I said, but I'm telling you now, you're refusing to go in and talk to the detectives. If I find out someone hurt her and you didn't do anything to help find the person that killed her, I will never forgive you. And he still stuck to his story.
Okay. Right.
So it was 3 months. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
It was 3 months in that Lucius went and picked up the death report.
Yeah. I was made aware that it was finalized. But the whole time before that, this was like June, So, from March to June. So the whole time, I had a hard time believing that he was really involved. Knowing this was the guy, played baseball together.
It's your baby.
We hunted together.
I get it.
We were closer than brothers. Okay? Right. It's about anything two young boys can be involved in. We were probably involved in growing up, drinking and running around and all that stuff. And, becoming men. So to have him, we cried so much. He would call me when he would go to the cemetery. He'd come to my house to drink coffee to calm down. He was going to kill himself. I really felt, he wanted to tell me something, but he didn't. He, from that perspective. But other than made me feel there was something more to it. I even asked him, Pina, did something happen? Do you know what happened? And he said, nothing happened, Lucius. And he swore to me that I've never lied to you. I wouldn't tell you that. But yet, he called me and, he wrote out his, suicide note in my truck and asked me to read it. I mean, he told me, I said, Pina, I don't want you to do this. We cried about it, everything. And he said, Lucius, you're here because I know how strong you are. I know how close we are. I knew you would try to talk me out of it, but you know me. Nobody else may not know me, but you know me. Nobody's going to talk me out of what I'm going to do. And I said, I understand. And so at that point, I let him do what he felt he needed to do. I mean, I think that was when I started feeling he was confessing without confessing.
Right.
And I hate to say that about my brother because I don't have, other than what I feel and what we've been told, I guess what you call proof type stuff, right? Evidence. I relied on the detectives. I never spoke with them until that. And so he wrote out his suicide note and he was going to call me. And I said, you have to understand you have to do certain things if you're going to do this. I mean, I spoke very frank, about it and blunt with him about certain things because I said, the way things are looking, there's going to be a lot of suspicions. There's going to be a lot of suspicions. There's going to be questions, even with people being involved. He wrote out things and read it to me. He wrote out sorry notes to his kids, and I still have
This is all in the suicide note?
He gave me all that, and asked me to hold on to him. And I did. I kept my word. I would always keep my word to him. Now, just because what's going on don't mean I don't love him or don't care for him.
Let me ask you though, their in suicide notes, and remember, I have much experience in this area. Okay, the apologies to his kids, whatever did he say? And I'm not asking you to detail it, but anything
He just kept saying he was sorry.
And the gist of the note was,
he's sorry. And the way he wrote
did he
it out,
say what he was sorry for?
No, because I even mentioned that to him, that the way he wrote the suicide note, I said, you need to say what you're sorry for because people's going to assume the worst, And he says, I don't care. Kind of like what he told other people, I don't really care what other people think. And so, but he just said he was sorry. He said, I'm sorry. And so I left it at that, figuring, he just maybe couldn't come to that, point in his life to say what he was sorry for, but it made me feel I knew. I mean, I hate to say that because I did not want to believe it. I mean, I actually didn't. I had spoke with my sisters, and I was probably a little reluctant to listen to it because I did not want to believe it, and I don't want to believe it.
Yeah, I understand.
But so he chose the day. He called me out. We was to the cemetery. We took a last dip together. He used to dip, I used to dip, and I had quit dipping for many years.
Right.
And so I took a last dip with him. And he said he was going to call. He told me exactly what he was going to do. Call 911, but he was going to call me first, then call 911.
Did he tell you how he was going to do it?
Yeah, he was going to shoot. He had two guns on him. He had two guns on him, and at that point, I asked him. I actually probably in a moment of weakness, thinking now legally, but I asked him. I said, "Did I need to stay with him and hold his hand?" And he told me exactly how he was going to position himself. So, because he didn't want to put no blood on the grave sites or anything. And he said he thought about committing death, suicide by cop. But then he said he thought about it and he didn't want to put that burden on them. And that wasn't fair to someone just doing their job. And he thought, and then when I asked him about holding his hand, he said he wouldn't, that, we were too close and he didn't want me to be burdened with that either. And so he asked me to go home and he would call me in a few minutes and then he would do it. But he knew he wanted me to take care of certain things for him.
Wow.
And so I did. I went home I was a wreck, but I went home. And he did call me. And he said he was coming to drink coffee with me. I said, okay, good. And so I seen him pull up. He was on the phone. He came into the house. He was very excited, giddy, happy, like saying that the detective had called him. Now, I don't know if that's true, but I can only tell you what he told me. That the detectives had called, and that the person who had went in and had said certain things about him, about allegations, had came back and had recanted their story, and that without that, they had no case. Yeah. And that's what and I was like, okay, but the whole time, so that you have to understand, that was at the time when I started kind of feeling something was very weird, because case about what, right? I didn't have the death certificate. Why would there be a case? Why would you be concerned about it being a case if you was going to kill yourself out of grief? And why would you be care if there was a case, if you was grieving to the point to where you're going to kill yourself, write a suicide note in front of someone and kill yourself. Right. So it took a day or two for those things to kind of soak in my mind a little bit, me to think logically. I'm usually a very logical thinker based on my background. But at the time, I was happy. I was happy for him. I was happy that I didn't get the phone call. Right. And because, the suicide note actually had them call me. He actually had called my brother, Lucius, and my phone number for when they found him. And so it was kind of a good thing. And he had to delay it because he was actually going to do it because someone had started working in the gravesite that day. They was removing a monument for getting ready for a burial, and he was going to have to wait till they left. Wow. So, call it whatever. I don't know. At his point, it was like almost like an intervention. You know what I mean? It was something that had stopped it, and that's what made me feel so weird about it, and because I wanted to believe it so bad that maybe he had nothing to do with it. But then when you start listening to how everything started transpiring, so then, here we are 3 months now, and then the certificate's ready. So I go pick it up, and it's obvious what it shows, right? Someone did hurt her, and she was killed. The two things that he swore to me as my brother, that had not happened. And you have to understand our background. The type of violence, bar fights we've been involved with, what I've seen him, do, and right or wrong, for anybody to think that they had hurt her and him not react violently, completely the other way, was very strange to me. It was almost eerie. It was like, I couldn't fathom how it was happening, in my mind. So I immediately made an appointment to go see the district attorney. At that point, I wanted to know. I had the certificate in my hand. It was been 3 months.
And it says homicide.
I wanted to know what the hell is going on. I didn't care who had talked to who and what detective, and I knew of these people, but I hadn't spoke with them. I wanted to go.
Spark something uncommon this holiday with just the right gift from Uncommon Goods. The busy holiday season is here, and Uncommon Goods makes it less stressful with incredible hand-picked gifts for everyone on your list, all in one spot. Gifts to spark joy, wonder, delight, and that's exactly what I wanted feeling. Hey, y'all, I ordered a super cool piece. It's a candle with a sculpture of LSU's Tiger Stadium on top of it. And each officially licensed laser cut wooden replica features up to 4 layers of detail, creating a bird's eye view of a specific football field, seating section, and more. And every label includes your stadium's name, the team's logo, and school location. And it has a coconut, soy, vegan wax infused with sandalwood smell that creates tailgates and touchdown scent profile, reminiscent of game day. It's invigorating like fresh cut grass and nostalgic like smoke from a pre-game grill, and calming like the crisp autumn air of a new semester on campus. Y'all, I love it. I have it at the base of my TV, and I'm ready to watch the Tigers play on Saturday night, right? Uncommon Goods. Look, when you shop at Uncommon Goods, you're supporting artists and small independent businesses. And many of their handcrafted products are made in small batches. So shop now before they sell out this holiday season. Uncommon Goods looks for products that are high quality, unique, and often handmade or made in the U.S. They have the most meaningful, out of the ordinary gifts anywhere. They even have gifts you can personalize. From holiday hosts and hostess gift to the coolest finds for kids to hits for everyone from the book lovers to diehard sports fans. Uncommon Goods has something for everyone, not the same old selections you can just find anywhere. And with every purchase you make at Uncommon Goods, they give $1 to a nonprofit partner of your choice. They've donated more than $3 million to date. So to get 15% off your next gift, go to uncommongoods.com/RLRC. That's uncommongoods.com/RLRC for 15% off. Don't miss out on this limited time offer. Uncommon Goods, we're all out of the ordinary.
Straight to the top and want to know what the hell was happening. I went there. The district attorney was out of town. I met with the senior assistant district attorney, and he asked me what case. I told him. He seemed to be not quite sure about it, didn't really know a lot about it, but as I spoke, but then he asked me, but y'all have like recordings or something? Don't your sister have like one of y'all? I'm like, my sister may, I don't know. So that told me right there, he knew about the case because he had been talking to the detectives, probably that knew something about recordings. I didn't really personally know about them or know that much about them. But I knew at that point when I got the certificate that my sister said she had some. So that told me he did know something. So I felt a little bit played. Okay, but I understood in an investigation you're going to ask questions and try to find out maybe something you don't know today. At least I gave them the benefit of the doubt of that. On my way home, because they basically said, that he was texting. He actually wanted a copy. I let him take a picture of a picture of the certificate. So I gave him because I didn't want nobody to take it from me.
Right.
And so he was texting everybody at that point, and they were beeping and tinging back, and he kept keep with his hand motion, keep talking, I'm listening, but he was also multitasking. On my way home, I ended up getting a phone call from the district attorney.
Himself. Not the ADA.
Assuring me he had not aware of this case. He was just been brought to his light. This is, which I found it highly strange that if there was even a suspicion of a homicide, and now that one had been ruled a homicide in your district, that you don't know about it. Being from West Baton Rouge, being involved in politics, I understand there ain't a whole lot that you don't know about when it comes to that level.
Right.
Now, in his defense, maybe he didn't know the details of it, or maybe he said there was some going on. But he called all of us. He wanted everybody's number. They wanted everybody's contact number, phone number, siblings. So they was going to reach out to us. And they did. He called literally everybody except my oldest sister, which we shielded.
I didn't get called.
Well, yeah, you probably did. But he called basically everybody who was kind of somewhat inquiring.
Right.
Maybe that was the part about it. And assured everybody they were going to do whatever and this and that. And, obviously he had a couple comments about, then maybe things don't look good for the person who's the last person with her. This is not looking right. This is, but assured me that they had to do their investigation and then it would be turned over to him. Okay? The cops had to do their thing.
Right.
All right. Basically, a month goes by, or almost a month. I had not seen Peanut since I got that certificate. And the time he was going to kill himself to the time I got that certificate, and probably a month went by. He, I think, had left town, maybe was working or something like that, which was another indication to me all of a sudden it just stopped, right? The communication
Right.
with me kind of stopped.
I mean, this is the man that gave you his suicide note. That's
Yeah.
how much communication you were having, and now,
Yes.
boom, the
No,
autopsy's out.
And not
Yeah.
talk to me, right? So I go cut the grass at the cemetery around our family plots just to kind of help keep them nice, because they put flowers out, and I try to make sure that, you know, there's always looks nice. There's people who take care of it, but I just go out there. I'm OCD, but because they can't do it good enough. But having said that, I pull up one day. I'm at the cemetery cutting grass, finishing up. He pulls up. My brother-in-law pulls up. I don't know what to think at that point. I don't know how to react.
Mm-hmm.
There's a part of me that wants to be almost like upset and mad, and there's a part of me that wants to know the truth. You know what I mean? I really wanted to know what happened. Okay? The report indicates what happened, but it didn't tell me why it happened or who. And so he came in, he hugged me. He kneels down at the grave. He looks at the grave because I had cut grass and everything. So I squat down right across from him with the grave in between us. And I asked him, I said, Pina, do you remember you told me nothing had happened to her? Nothing, no one had hurt her. And he said, yeah. I said, it did. They hurt her bad. He said, who? I said, I don't know who, Peanut. But they hurt her bad. And they killed her.
He didn't ask how, who.
He asked who.
I know. My
He didn't say how.
I would have been like, how? What
And
happened?
then he wanted to know, you know, like, would I tell him once I found out? I said, no. I said I went to the district attorney to find out. And he said, well, what did they say? I said, there's suspects. That's all they left. That's all they gave me. They were suspects and they were handling the investigation. And he says, well, you went and talked to Tony? And he said the name. And I said, yeah. And he's like, well, and then he grabbed my hands and he said, promise to tell me when you find out who it is. And I said, I will. And at that point he's crying, right? And at that point I didn't have any more tears because I had cried uncontrollably with him for a long time. So I walked away and I said, I gotta go. Because I was tired. I had been cutting grass and I said, I'm leaving. And he waved at me and that was the last time I seen him. And that was July, maybe, right around the beginning of July.
And so that's the last time you've seen or heard from him.
Yeah,
Okay.
and that I can remember. That's the last
Right.
time that I've seen him or heard from him.
So what happens? You go talk to Tony Clayton, the DA, or the ADA, Stassi, and then Tony comes to go.
And let me finish it by saying after that, because of the investigation that was going on, and I had spoke with Tony a month, or the district attorney a month before, out of courtesy, professional courtesy, I called him and said, hey, I don't know what's fixing to happen because I seen him and I asked him and I told him what I said and I told him what he said. He says, well, okay, well, because I think they were not, I'd say, upset, but I don't know how they were, but it seemed like they were not comfortable with us having that report because it seemed like that was something they did not want us to have, right, of how she died. But I told him, I said, well, from an investigation, he said, well, we have not been able to get him back in. But if this was my wife and someone told me what you told me, first thing I would want to know is what's happening. He said, so let's see how this plays out. I haven't spoke to Tony since then, or the district attorney since then, other than a text, because I asked a while, after that, for an update. Because I remember the detectives through word of mouth was saying I think it was the district attorney, assistant district attorney had told me at some point they were wanting to get the family together and tell us where they were at and what they were going to go do. Now, they couldn't share everything, but they was going to kind of give us a briefus, tell us where they were at in the investigation and where we would go, and they would have they would have everybody together at one time. Because it seemed like there was some, not sure what the left hand, right hand was doing, and out of respect for everybody, that's probably typical. You have the investigation side, then you have the prosecution side, but typically they kind of work jointly, from what I understand. And so when I text the district attorney and asked him to maybe if he could have the detectives do this, he responded that respectfully that he could not tell them who to meet with and that they had to do their investigation before it was even handed over to him. So he had kind of distanced himself a little bit from it. And I just said thank you. And he responded very quickly, and I thanked him for that. And I did. I made an appointment to see the detectives, and that was the first time I ever spoke with the detectives. I know one of them, but I have never spoke with them.
And what happened at that appointment?
Well, we went in, and my sisters, Laura and Lauren, went in with me, and we had a discussion more about them kind of wanting to know everything, a little bit about what, just in life in general, a lot like what we're doing now. But they assured us that, they felt he was guilty, I guess, and I don't know, I assume that when you do any kind of interview or such with the cops, they can tell you basically whatever they want to tell you. They can lie, in my opinion, as long as they're not promising you things. Right? And so they pretty much, I think, tell anybody what they want to hear if they think they can get more information out of it. So they asked a lot of questions. They knew a lot of the history of Peanut. The first thing they said, the first thing, which I felt was kind of odd, was that when they came in and introduced themselves, which I kind of knew who they were, but that they wanted us to rest assured, or me to rest assured, maybe they was more talking to me, that just because he was part of their organization at one time, that they were doing everything in their power to investigate.
Meaning that he was the warden of the West Baton Rouge Parish Prison, right?
Commission.
They're letting you,
Yeah.
they want to assure you that they're going to do their job no matter what.
Yeah. And so we did a lot of that, talking back and forth, kind of explained some things. I raised questions that I had, some that I've shared here, some that my sisters have shared, and they talked a little bit, and we left.
But they told you, or they told y'all again, that they believe that he did it. It's going to be a process.
They felt as a suspect.
Right.
He was their number one suspect, and that the recordings will speak for itself, because I know they record it. They act like they don't, but they did, and I'm pretty sure they did. And and they could say, well, we say that, but I don't mean we mean it, but it pretty much was almost saying they knew he did it, and that, they needed stronger evidence, and that they was trying certain things, and that, matter of fact, after speaking with me, they were going to try, it was going to be, the lead detective, Doucette basically said, I'm going to try a different method after speaking with you. I don't know if it'll work, but I'm going to try something now. I have not spoke back to them, or have they reached out to me.
This is like in August or September?
What was it like? When did we meet with them?
Oh, geez. It was probably, it was after he quit talking to me, so,
It had to be around August.
It was around that August time, probably.
And since then, what's the contact been? What have they said about the case?
I called Bouquet probably now 4 or 5 weeks ago. Guesstimation. This was the last time I spoke to him. No, probably about 8 weeks ago. He told me they were at a dead end. And I was like, what do you mean a dead end? And he said, well, we're at a dead end. I said, so you're talking cold case? He said, no, as I told you before, Miss Cash, this is not a cold case. The file is on my desk. I touch it every day. He said, but as of right now, we have nothing new. So I called him again about 2 weeks later. And because we have provided them a lot of information. And I called and I said, calling for an update. And he said, still nothing. And I said, oh, you don't? I said, well, I do. I have something new. And he goes, oh, you do? I mean, all excited. And I said, yeah, but I'm not sharing it with you. I said, I have given you information for 7 months. A lot of information. And I feel like you haven't done anything with it. Whether it's you, whether your hands are tied, I don't know and I don't care anymore. I said, but I trusted you. We all trusted y'all. I said, and nothing's being done. And I said, so. And I heard the door shut, so I didn't know if someone came in, someone went out, I didn't know. So I just said, have a great day. And I hung up the phone. And that was the last. Well, I did try to call when I spoke to you. Mm-hmm. You told me to call. Mm-hmm. I did call, and I recorded it. No one answered, and no call has been returned.
All right.
It seemed like they had, like, it was like one of the last comments that someone had made is that without a confession, they didn't know if they would ever do anything.
Yeah. And I will say that we provided my laptop to them, and as well when they originally got did a subpoena for the telephone numbers, everything that we gave them. They actually sent it to the wrong service unit, so to get the records. So then they had to turn around and resubmit it again. But that was one of the things they kept saying was what a guru they were with cell phones and laptops, yet they could actually find nothing at all on the laptop, where we knew we had at least
All right, stop, time. Let's go back to
Lucius.
where he stopped, the last contact y'all had, and you said, I'm not giving it to you.
Yeah.
Y'all, we gotta cut in one more time because we're past time. All right. This is, it has to be told. Now, I mean, I have some thoughts I'll share with y'all when I get done. Cop thoughts. We're at the 1 hour mark. I'm going to shut this episode down and it'll be concluded next week. So stick with us. And in LOPA, if you're a lifer in Belgium and you want to be a hero and save lives, go to lopa.org. Take 2 minutes and sign up. Be a hero. You don't have to be from the state of Louisiana. Be a hero. Save lives. Sign up to be an organ donor. And I'm Woody Overton, your host of Real Life, Real Crime, the podcast. Until next time or ever, don't let me catch you down on Murder Bayou. Peace.
Get ready, you're gonna do time. Real life, real crime.
Real Life, Real Crime is a true crime podcast brought to you by Woody Overton and executive producer Toby Tomplay in conjunction with iHeartRadio and Cloud 10 Media.
Holiday magic is in the air at iFly Indoor Skydiving. Imagine unwrapping the experience of flight. iFly is the perfect unique gift for anyone who wants to turn their dream of flying into a joyful reality. It's unforgettable fun for all ages. Save over 35% with iFly's limited-time holiday gift voucher flight packages. Turn dreams into unforgettable moments with the gift of flight. Go to iFlyWorld.com to purchase your holiday gift vouchers. That's iFlyWorld.com.